Am I the butthole for telling my son the truth about maths? My wife is a high school maths teacher. Maths is her passion, and she loves teaching. She has always been a maths wizard and thinks maths is this super fun subject that is enjoyable and relaxing. To decompress as a kid, she'd do algebra. For fun, she'd do hard calculus. To me, it's endearing, and she does have fun and is enjoyable outside of maths and academics. Ever since my son was 3, she started teaching him maths. She tried to teach him to count at 1, but he couldn't really speak, so it didn't work out. When he was 5, she started teaching him all the maths she could. When he was in grade 1, he aced the class because he'd learned all of it before from his mother. This essentially made her think that her teaching him advanced maths was a good thing, and pretty much all their time together is maths related. By grade 3, he was doing algebra. He's a bright kid, and at first he was really interested in maths because it helped him understand how the world works. Now he's in grade 5 going into grade 6, and she's started teaching some high school syllabus. He'd been losing interest in a while because the maths was slowly drifting away from real-world application and into x6 x plus 7, solve for x. That's where he began to lose interest, and because he's obviously young and not really ready for that kind of maths yet, she had to push him insanely hard to get him to do well in it. There were days where she'd come home from work and my wife would immediately start drilling him with maths. Recently there's been several fights because he wanted to go play video games with his friends instead of doing maths. My wife told him to do the maths, which I'm assuming is GCSE trigonometry, which I think is insane, as in our school system, he's not even in middle school yet, and she's making him do high school level work. She left the room because she had to attend to something, and my son threw his pen on the ground and started crying. I was already annoyed because he barely ever gets to play with his friends, and his holidays have just started. I get she wants him to ace his maths classes, but this was too far for me. He asked me, I was in the room, why these maths was even needed, because he couldn't see any use for it outside of school tests. I told him that, honestly, 80% of maths is useless in the real world. I haven't used algebra since I left high school, and I work in government. I have barely come across grade 9 level trig and have never seen high school algebra, or calculus outside of school and maths related fields. I did tell him that maths was important to get into colleges, but I don't think he should be worrying about that when he's not even in middle school yet. After this, I got into a huge fight with my wife where she was screaming at me for impeding their relationship. I told her that their relationship can't just be maths. Am I the butthole? Everyone sucks here. I'm a maths teacher. Forcing maths, or any learning, down young children's throats does more harm than good. My daughter is talented at maths. We do no maths together at home beyond her school work. She is 5, she needs to be 5, so when she is home she plays, spends time with her family, has fun. However, I can't tell you how bloody difficult it is to teach a child at secondary level who has a commentary from home of maths is pointless, you'll never need this etc. as soon as a kid says, well, my mum/dad says. My heart sinks. Maths has many real-world applications, and honestly, even if those aren't things the person wants to do, a whole load more doors are open to the student who has gained a decent maths grade at GCSE. You and your wife need to sort yourselves out. Between you, you are entirely sabotaging his education. Her by making him resent it. You by undermining its importance. Right? The mom is a butt for her pressuring the kid, but original poster, times are changing. Would your son ever like to go anywhere in academia or STEM? Would he ever like to learn a trade like electrician or plumber? What about anything to do with computers, whether that is a practical side or software? Pilot? Engineer? Architect? Data analyst? Anything to do with logistics? Then he will need maths. Just because your career hasn't involved any maths at all, and while the chances of him also managing to get a government job like that are small, does not mean your experiences are universal. Wow, way to make his world seem smaller than it is. I wish health professionals were taught better maths, because the amount of peers I saw spewing statistical BS during the COVID-19 crapstorm is far too high. My fellow paramedic students thought it was stupid that we had to take math tests from time to time. I'm talking basic algebra, for simple dose and drip rate calculations. We'll never need to use that. They cried. We have apps on our phones for that. IKR, My colleagues were complaining about differential and integral calculus in first semester and basic statistics on the second until we got pharmacokinetics on fifth semester. Integral calculus comes back with a vengeance, and epidemiology on sixth semester. Hello statistics, my old friend. Stats. I'm in bio now, done with paramedicine, and stats is my nemesis. I know they're important, but I'm an engineer. In my field, we have tools to do virtually all the calculations we need. I have a professional responsibility to review and understand the results provided by these tools before signing off on any construction. What's one of the key elements in that? Understanding how the calculations in the background are done. I haven't done any math calculations beyond what I learned in elementary school, and I've held technical jobs in engineering for decades. Pretty sure math is still important for engineering though. I work as an artist and I use different kinds of math all the time: algebra, geometry, trig, calculus. It is not just science fields that require you to be able to think meaningfully in numbers. I agree that as a middle schooler your kid doesn't need to be stressed about high school level maths, but it's just not true that 80% of maths is useless in the real world. It really sounds like you all would benefit from some family counseling. Maybe a neutral third party could help the three of you communicate more effectively with each other. As a lawyer, I needed the ability to think logically, recognize patterns and use A/B reasoning all the time. Math teaches you how to think and how to come to the correct conclusions. Our current fake news and conspiracy theory crisis is in big part caused by rampant mathematical illiteracy. How can people who think that 1/4 is bigger than 1/3 understand statistics or probability? Then he will need maths. I feel like a lot of people are taking the fact that most careers need some amount of math and using that to argue that all or most of the math courses taught in school are useful in all or most careers. The issue with this entire debate is that both sides are really making different points and both are generally correct. Math curricula are generally designed to provide broad-based exposure in middle/high school. The people that argue that 80% of it is useless in the real world are really saying that 80% of what you are taught in these lessons is not going to be useful day to day, because people who go into careers like those you described generally get specialized training in the practical applications of the 20% of math they do need before beginning them. In this sense, they are largely right. The people that argue that math is necessary in everything are also largely right in that almost everything involves math on some level, which is the point that they are making. The issue is that, as stated above, even if you do use a specialized form of math for your career, you generally won't use a good portion of the math that you learn because of the way the curriculum is designed. Okay, yes, original poster's comments suck, but he's a small for his comments. His wife is a huge Forcing a young kid to do something that she enjoys to the exclusion of normal social and physical activities is stunting this kid, not helping him. In my opinion, original poster is way more the A for not putting his foot down on her frankly obsessive and damaging behaviors than for his negative maths comments. His wife is a huge for sure and going to wreck any enjoyment of math for the kid. But original poster has seen this happening for years and never done anything about it. There should have been a conversation about these ages ago. I think he said that out of frustration. But I agree with what you said. Not the butthole. A lot of my job is maths. So how useful is it depends on the direction you decide to go. I don't think he should be worrying about that when he's not even in middle school yet. I agree, and this is what makes you not the butthole. Let the kid be a kid. Edit, your wife's approach sounds like it will probably make him hate maths. His wife's approach also doesn't sound like a good teaching method. First of all, the drilling. Second, the non-real life application. I had a teacher like that from year 7 to 9. Barely got through it. Then I had an awesome teacher year 10 to 13 and suddenly I got only A's and B's, and third, not taking criticism on maths. Right? Like, if you want your kid to learn trig, give him a real reason to learn it. The kid likes games? Hey boy, why don't we try to make a simple computer game for you to play with your friends? That's a great excuse to teach the kid some programming, and 9 out of 10 games will need trig to code some physics crap. Yes. This. 100%, making games is even better than playing them. Agreed. The wife could have made up fun math puzzles and problems to keep him entertained and train his brain in a positive way. But forcing stuff on him that he will learn eventually at his own pace and isn't currently interested in is just cruel. That is because you have never had a bus launched at you with a trebuchet. Everyone sucks here. Your wife is obviously pushing your son too hard and doesn't seem to pay any attention to his right to free time and his own desires for the future. That's obviously crafty parenting. To an extent, your wife is able to give him an advantage when it comes to his schoolwork. I'm bilingual and I fully intend to raise my kids bilingual, to give them an advantage in their education and overall development, but there is a limit. She seems to be raising him with the sole intention of making him into a mathematician or maths teacher. That is not okay. Your son has a voice here, and she needs to respect his wishes and encourage him to do things rather than push him. You, however, are not in the right here either in your response to your son. You should have just comforted your son and then sit down with your wife and lay out your concerns, tell her you don't think he's ready for what she wants to do with him and just back off a little bit. That's how you should have approached this. Make sure you and your wife are on the same page and then present a united front towards your son. You shouldn't have undermined your wife and you shouldn't write off maths. Just because you think you don't use it in adult life doesn't mean it's useless, nor is 80% of it useless. Working in government is not the be-all and end-all adult or professional life, although I'm not surprised to hear that people who work in government don't use maths. Do you really think your son is ever going to take his maths schoolwork or your wife's teaching seriously again if his father tells him that the vast majority is useless? Talk to your wife and get both your parenting up to scratch. Neither of you is helping your son. I work in government, and I do maths all the time. I don't even work in the accounting department, but I am constantly doing financial maths, square footage maths, more maths regarding construction and building projects than I ever thought I needed to know. I honestly want to go back in time and kick 13-year-old me for telling my teacher I'm never going to have to figure out how many pieces of lumber Gary has to give to Greg based on a percentage. Cause F my life I do, and I do it every damn day. The kicker, my degree is in photography. People don't think math is useful because in real life it is not presented like a textbook problem. I may be an outlier because I got my degree in math, but I even use math to help me solve personal problems. Being good at math gets you further in any field because it's applicable to any field, and so many people don't take the time to really understand it. Math is everywhere. Everyone sucks here. She shouldn't be pushing her interests on him, especially if he's not enjoying it and doesn't need it for school. But you should have spoken to your wife about it before it got to this point, and presented a united front instead of undermining her with no warning. Everyone sucks here except the kid. If you have different views of raising the child, cleat it without the child first. Now you have a fight where the child knows he can play you both against others. Everyone sucks here, except the kid, of course. Your wife for pushing the kid so hard. And you, like everyone said, undermining your wife's education and maths. But the biggest move for me is you not protecting your kid. Your wife makes his life miserable, drilling him with maths. Plus, through that sentence I understand she is even isolating him from his friend. He barely ever gets to play with his friends. Why are you letting her do that? Why are you not protecting him? Letting him be a child? Do you not have equal say in his education? You should have put your foot down a long time ago. You are his father, not some bystander. Everyone sucks here. Your wife isn't allowing your son to be a child. She is doing him real harm, and her behavior is unloving. You are also TA for standing by and watching your wife do this to your child, and also for parroting this weird lie about math being useless. You don't need it in everyday life if your job doesn't require math, but lots of jobs do. Everyone sucks here. Your wife is clearly approaching this wrong. But you are wrong too. Depending on your career, math has a ton of real-world applications, yes, even algebra. So in empathizing with your son you said something truly ignorant. I also thought it was interesting that you equated trigonometry with high school. In many countries basic trig is introduced in middle school, as is limit theory. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, Please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.